Everybody, welcome to Adventures in Art. This week we are going to be painting angelfish. So this is what it's going to look like. So the first thing we're going to do is paint the background. So we're going to need, on a paper plate, a bunch of white, and a little blue. We want to start out with just a little blue to begin with, because we want it very light to start. It's going to be the very top. So really light like that. See, what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top and we're going to kind of shape it like this and then work our way down and add a little bit of blue as we go. Now I'm going to do it, I found it was easier to do it upside down. Since I'm doing the bottom and on the bottom first, even though it's going to be the top, it was easier to do it this way because it came out better the first time I did it, well, the second time I did it this way than the first time. So try to keep your paint strokes the same direction that you want to paint, which is like a frowns. If you're going to do it reverse, then do it like a smiley face. And then you're going to add, after you do the first layer of a little bit of white, a little bit extra white, you're going to add a tiny bit more blue in. And then you're going to add a little more blue like that and make it a little bit. See how I'm keeping the shape like a rainbow. When it's upside down, it's like a rainbow. If you're doing it right side, it's still like a smiley face. Okay? And then you're going to add more blue. And you're just going to get gradually darker. You can go back and blend your colors together. So after you are all done, just adding a little bit of blue for another layer, you will end up like this. So it's going to be much darker at the bottom and much lighter at the top if you do it this direction. Like I said, I started it out. The first one that I did it right side up. But I found when I did the sample, when I went back and did it a second time, I ended up doing it in reverse and I actually got a better curve to it. When I did it the right direction, I didn't get as much curve to it, so I don't like that one as much. So you want to have like enough curve to it, because what it is the lighter part at the top is supposed to look like that's where the sun is shining down, so that's why it's lighter. And why the bottom part is darker. So it's supposed to look like that's closer to the top of the water, to where this, it's up matching the sky. So when you are all done doing yours, let it dry for a long time, because it is going to be very wet and you do not want to end up turning your angelfish like green if you put the yellow with it and stuff. So finish up the back of it, finish it till it's all done like this, let it dry for a good long time before you continue on. So you can just pause the video and then come back to it, okay? So once you are done with that part and you're all ready to go on, what you're going to do is you're going to trace, because you also cannot use, if you still have the chalk left over from the last one, it would be great. You cannot use chalk on your painting if it's wet. So you want to make sure you have a good dry, all the way dry canvas here. So I am going to draw my angelfish with my chalk. And remember, if you make a mistake, you could just go back and you could just erase it like that. No problem. But it's easier to draw it on with the chalk. And this is, I did the same thing with this one as I did the last time. I made it too close. My tail was too close to the end. I'm actually going to erase that part because I went too far. So just go ahead. Like the way that line came out at all. And draw on your angelfish with some chalk if you have it. If not, you can do it with just a tiny bit of white paint on the end of a brush. You could try doing it with a pencil, but sometimes it doesn't work too well with a pencil. So there's one angelfish. I'm just going to make two angelfish. I just gave you the copy that had 3. You don't have to do 3. It's up to you how many you want to do. I forgot to go that direction. Okay. I know they're not really easy to draw. If you had tracing paper, you could also take tracing paper, like graphite paper, and you could also draw it on that way too. Okay, so once your angelfish are all painted on, I'm going to go back with just plain white paint. And I'm going to paint my angelfish in. And this is a good time if you wanted to adjust it at all. You can go ahead and adjust the shape while you can see it. So go ahead and paint your angelfish. I'm going to outline them first, and then I'm going to go back and fill them in with maybe a little bit bigger of a brush if I brought one with me. See how I'm kind of like fixing the shape of them as I go along. I wasn't happy with the shape to begin with. Alright, you see, I brought a bigger brush. Reason why we're going to paint these white is because our yellow paint is very transparent, and you'll really see the blue underneath if we don't put a layer of white down. Even sometimes, you know, with the black, you'll be able to see it too. Not as much so, but definitely with the yellow. part of the angelfish is going to be left white. So that's fine anyway. Most of the angelfish, though, is going to be covered in the black and the yellow. There's just some white around the face. But this will help. And we want it to dry before we go on. See how much of the angelfishes only have white on them, so it's okay if you, but we want the white because this was with the white underneath the yellow, and if we didn't put it on there, you'd really see the blue through it. You'd still see the blue through it, but we'd see it a lot worse through it. Okay, so now we're going to let our angelfish dry for a little bit, and we're going to work on the bottom of our painting down at the bottom where the coral and stuff is. So what we're going to do is take my paper plate and all right, so we're going to take a little blue. I'm going to take a little blue, and I can cap this up because I'm done with it. And I'm going to add just a little bit of black to it. Not a whole bunch, but some, because we want to darken our blue. If you made the bottom of yours really darker blue, you especially want to make sure you add the black to it. Extra peanut. All right. Push that aside for now. Let me try to get this blue paint off my finger so I don't smear it on my clothes. All right, so what we're going to do first, we are going to paint some little swigglies down at the bottom. See where the dark blue ones are? We're going to paint those first. It's up to you how many you want. You don't have to do as many as me. But just make them kind of curvy. You can make some taller. Make some shorter. I seem to always curve the same way. I have to practice that. It's up to you, like I said, how many you want to make. This one isn't wide enough. I want a wider one. Okay, so I didn't make as many as last time, but that's okay. Make as many as you want. When we are done with that, we're going to make some pink coral. So we want to add some white. And some pink. Now with the pink, I wouldn't, oops, something fell. I would not mix it in all the way. You can leave it a little streaky looking, like that. If we need more, we can add to it. But we want to make coral, so it's just kind of looking like a tree sort of with branches. And you can do some little ones, you can do the bigger ones. Some of it you can have pinker, some of it you could have lighter, but I would start out with it lighter to begin with because the pink is the same way as the yellow. It's transparent. So if you don't put enough white in it, you won't see it on the canvas. You could also, let's see, it's mirroring my colors now. You could also just go back through with the lighter color and then go back and add dark on top of it. This one I'm going to make kind of like a Y shape. And if you have some streaks, like right there, I have a little bit of the pink in it streaked. That looks good that way. You can make it kind of growing more sideways. You can make it more bumpy looking. It's just kind of the natural thing under the sea. So there's no right or wrong. Some of it grows kind of sideways. I'm going back and making this one more because I didn't like just how little it was. But keep them, you know, short enough so they fit underneath your fish and you don't hit your fish with them. Same thing when you did those. Make sure you didn't get in the way of your fish. And you're going to go over the other one, so you're not trying to avoid the other things you already painted on. You're going to have these in front of it. You can have some smaller than others. Just use your imagination. Just make sure your blue from the other part is dry underneath. All right, and while those are drying, you can go back with a little bit more with just the pink. And once those are dry, you can go back and you can put a little bit of the dark pink on top of it, just to make them look more natural, that they have varied colors. You don't have to do it all over, but you could make a little bit here and there, just to make them look more natural. You don't have to do it all over, but kind of just like that. All right. Now when you're done with that part and that part is all dry, you can then also go back with just plain white and a small brush. Let me rinse this off good. And see, I also have some little white stuff down here too, as a to have more stuff growing down on the bottom. And with that, I just took a skinny brush with a little bit of white paint and I made just dots and made them also curvy. Kind of make them like so they almost look like they're touching, but not quite touching. You could scatter them about here and there. You can make them a little smaller, a little taller, depending on what you need. And just kind of fill it in to where you might need something else down here. To where you have a little empty spot. You could still go on top of the other ones and it won't matter. So just kind of like that. This one needs over here. All right, so kind of just like that. All right, next thing is going to be the fish. I have the wrong yellow with me, but that's okay. So you have a different color yellow. It doesn't really matter. You guys got the right one. I got the wrong one. So what you're going to do is you're going to see where your stripes are. You could either outline the stripes in black and do the black part first, or you can outline the yellow and do the yellow parts first. I am going to turn mine around so I don't put my arm down on that part, because I have a tendency to do that. So I'm going to outline my fish where the yellow parts are, and then I'm going to go back. It looked better when I did it with the dark, when I did the black first. It was easier, but do it how you want. Oh, I'm really off already. Okay, I gotta turn this around. That's supposed to be yellow. Oh, then this is supposed to be yellow. Okay, I got it. And don't want them like completely straight. You want the lines to be a little curvy looking. And then this is going to be where this one is. So first I have this yellow. So you can kind of see where your yellow is first, and then you can go back and fill them in. You guys got the better yellow. This one's too orangey. Okay. So kind of like that. This one I'm just going to go ahead and paint him since it's a smaller one. I'm going to do the bottom, both ends first, then I'm going to go back, do the middle one. So you either can outline them in and go back and fill them in, or you can just go ahead and fill them in as you're going along. But that's good. So after you do that, you're going to go back with the black paint, and now you're going to fill in the black parts. You know what I'm going to start out with? This one, he should be a little bit more dry. And since your black is going to be so dark, if you made any mistakes with the yellow, you can just cover it up with the black. If your black is still showing through white and yellow, you can go back and make another layer of it on top of it later. And with this one, because it's such a big one, angelfish have these pretty wing fins that stick out that kind of go along like that. Actually gonna go up with the black on this one, just because it'll really show it off better. The black will show up better than the yellow will by going up like that with it. And even if it goes a little like this, that's fine too. There's no right or wrong. Every fish is not painted exactly the same because a real fish is not the same as the next one. With their colorings, everybody's unique. Just like people are unique, so are fish. Okay. Now last one. All right. Some of that's going to have chalk on it to be erased afterward. So when you're done with your fish, you also want to take a real skinny brush, skinny as you have, and you want to try to make his mouth, their mouth, which was just a little line, and then a little circle, leave the middle open if you can. If you can't, you can just make a bigger black circle, and then later go back and make a little white dot in the middle of it. All right, so that is it for the fish. So the next one I'm going to do, actually I'm going to try to stick with the skinny brush. Use whatever skinny brush you have that works best for you, but we're going to make bubbles now, coming from the fish and going upward. So you want to make them different sizes. Just make O's. It's okay if some of them are kind of faded looking, like if you don't have a whole bunch of paint on your brush, because you don't want them to be that dark. And I wouldn't kind of go any bigger than that. But you can have some smaller ones. See what I mean? If you don't fill it in all the way, it looks fine. And also with the bigger ones, make a little mark on them like that. It just looks like the light's hitting them. You just have to do that on the bigger ones. All right, so there's his little bubbles. Let's make some for this one now. You can space them out more if you want. It's up to you. My first ones were spaced out a little bit more. Dashes. Oh, now I have paint all over my arm. I knew that was going to happen. All right, so you have little bubbles like that. Also take a little bit of white, and when your tail is dry, you want to just kind of make a little bit of white on them just as an accent. Make like the light is hitting it. All right, and that is done. Our angelfish are finished. When you are all done with it and it is completely dry, if you did use chalk, like I said, when it's completely dry, make sure you go back and you take a wet paintbrush and wipe off the chalk marks, and then just dry it off with the paper towel, and they'll come right off. I'll show you real quick. See? Just comes right off. But do it, make sure you don't do it until your painting is completely dry, because you don't want to smear your painting. All right, that is it. Thanks for coming, and I will see you next week. Next week we are painting a cactus. So I will see you then. Bye.